The human slowly opened his eyes. The first thing he noticed was the cold. Everything around him felt strange and icy. He tried to move, but his body felt heavy, like he had been asleep for a very long time. His head throbbed with pain, and the last memory he had was hazy like a broken dream. He was not in a bed. Not in a hospital. Not even in a place he could recognize. The walls around him were smooth and metallic. Soft lights glowed from the ceiling, giving the room an eerie blue tint. Strange machines hummed quietly, their sounds almost like whispers. He could see tubes and wires, some glowing, some moving on their own as if they had a life of their own. Panic rose in him. "Where am I?" he whispered, but his voice sounded weak, swallowed by the strange sounds of the room. He tried to sit up. Pain shot through his muscles. It was hard to believe, but he realized he had been frozen. Cryosleep? That's what the machines had looked like in old movies, but this was real and much stranger than anything he had imagined. He tried to remember how he got here, but his mind was empty. Only fragments came to him, flashes of cold, darkness, and a feeling of being taken somewhere far away. The rest was gone. He swallowed hard. Something told him he was not alone. Then he saw them. At first he thought they were shadows, strange shapes at the far end of the room. But no, they moved, and slowly he realized they were creatures. Tall, thin, with glowing eyes and skin that shimmered like silver. Their heads were large and their limbs were long, almost too long. They watched him carefully, quietly, as if studying him. He froze. He had only seen creatures like this in pictures, in stories. Now they were real and they were looking at him. He felt a mix of fear and awe. Every instinct told him to run, but there was nowhere to go. The floor was smooth and cold, the walls seamless, and the room seemed bigger than it should be. One of the creatures stepped forward. Its movements were slow, precise, and careful. The human held his breath. The creature reached a hand, long fingers glowing slightly, and touched a small panel on the wall. Lights flickered and a screen turned on. Strange symbols appeared. The human could not understand them, but he felt their meaning: curiosity. Then a soft voice spoke. It was not a voice like humans knew. It sounded like a combination of tones, low and high, almost musical yet clear. Somehow, he understood it. "You are awake," it said. The human's heart jumped. He tried to speak. Am I?" The creatures tilted their heads. One of them moved closer, pointing at him, then at the screen. Another gesture, and the human understood. They were observing him. Testing him. Studying him. He tried to stand. His legs shook. He had no strength. The creatures watched, silent, almost patiently. He noticed more machines. Tubes with glowing liquid, containers with things he could not recognize, devices that looked like they belonged in a science fiction movie. A sudden noise made him jump. Something moved in the corner of the room. A small creature, or maybe a machine. He couldn't tell. Whatever it was, it disappeared quickly. The human's pulse raced. He realized the lab was alive. Not alive like a forest or an animal. Alive like it had a mind of its own. Every movement, every sound seemed purposeful. The human backed up slowly, trying to understand. His mind raced. He thought about what he had learned from old stories and movies. Aliens did not always mean danger. Sometimes they were scientists. Sometimes explorers. Sometimes hunters. He did not know which these were. Suddenly, one of the creatures moved a little faster. A small panel on the floor opened, revealing a glowing floor beneath. The human froze. The creature stopped. All lights dimmed slightly, and the humming of the machines became louder, almost threatening. A wave of cold air rushed over him. He shivered. He wanted to run, but he had no idea where to go. The room seemed endless, yet perfectly sealed. His mind screamed, "Think. Think." Then he noticed something strange about the lights. They pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat. Or maybe it was his imagination. He tried to focus. The lights flickered faster, and one of the creatures pointed at him again, then to the ceiling. He looked up. A strange device rotated slowly. Inside it, he could see a faint, glowing image of himself, moving, before he even moved. The human swallowed hard. Fear, awe, confusion, all collided inside him. He realized he was not just being observed, he was being studied in ways he could not understand. Something about him was important. Something the aliens wanted. And as he stood there, trembling, he heard a low hum, deeper than anything before. The floor vibrated slightly. The machines moved faster. The creatures leaned closer. The human knew one thing for certain. His life had changed forever. And whatever these aliens planned, he could not even imagine. And in the silence that followed, only one thought ran through his mind. "What, me? The human could barely breathe. Every second felt heavy, filled with tension. The creatures did not speak like humans, yet their eyes, glowing softly, followed his every move. They moved with precision, almost like they were anticipating his thoughts. He tried to look around, but the room seemed endless. Machines lined the walls, tubes with glowing liquids, strange containers that pulsed with light, and panels that moved without anyone touching them. The hum of the lab was constant, but now he noticed subtle changes. Every time he moved, the machines shifted, almost like they were responding to him. One creature stepped closer. Its long fingers brushed a floating hologram. Images of planets, stars, and strange symbols appeared, spinning slowly. The human squinted. He could not understand the symbols, but the images seemed familiar in a strange way, like memories from a dream he had forgotten. He wanted to speak, to ask a question, but fear held him back. The creature's silence was more terrifying than words. They did not make sudden movements, yet he felt watched in a way that made his skin crawl. It was not just observation, it was analysis. Every heartbeat, every blink, every subtle shift of his body was noted. He tried to focus on one thing at a time. The creatures had large heads and thin bodies, but their eyes seemed intelligent, almost human in understanding. And yet, there was something different, something alien about the way they thought. Suddenly, one of the creatures moved quickly. It reached for a panel on the wall, pressing symbols that glowed brightly. A screen lit up, showing a human figure, himself. The hologram moved exactly as he moved. Every twitch, every breath mirrored perfectly. The human froze. He realized with a jolt, they were tracking him, studying him in real time. And more than that, learning from him. One creature tilted its head, then pointed at the hologram, then at him. Another made a sound, soft and musical, almost like a whisper. The human did not understand the words, but the meaning was clear. They were communicating, observing, and analyzing. Panic rose. He wanted to move, but his body did not respond well. His muscles were weak. The freezing sleep had left him fragile, almost childlike. He stumbled slightly, and the creatures noticed instantly. One stepped forward, a long finger hovering over a small control panel on the floor. The lights pulsed, almost in rhythm with his heartbeat. A low hum filled the room, deeper than before. The machine seemed to react. The air felt heavier. He noticed a strange mist in one corner of the room. It moved as if alive, curling slowly around a machine. The human's stomach turned. He could not tell if it was dangerous, or part of the observation. Time passed, or at least it felt like it. The human did not know how long he had been awake or how long he had been watched. The creatures never left him alone. They moved silently, their large heads swiveling, eyes glowing, observing. Every action of his was mirrored on a hologram, every reaction recorded. Then he noticed something terrifying. A small device on the wall projected his past, fragments of memories. He saw flashes of himself before the cryo-sleep, moments of fear, of joy, of pain. The creatures watched these moments carefully, almost reverently. The human realized, they were learning everything about him. Not just his body but his mind. His thoughts, his memories, maybe even his fears. Fear turned to anger. He wanted to scream, to fight, to do something. But he was weak, alone, and outmatched. The creatures did not attack, but their observation was almost worse. They controlled the room. They controlled the lights, the machines, the very air he breathed. He was trapped. A sudden noise made him jump. One of the panels on the floor slid open. A strange device emerged, rotating slowly. Inside he could see multiple images of himself, each showing a different emotion. Fear, confusion, curiosity, anger. The creatures gestured at the device. The human understood, they were not just observing, they were testing. His mind raced. Why him? Why now? What had he done to deserve this? The aliens did not answer. They only watched, silently, intensely, as if expecting him to act. Then one of them stepped back and did something unexpected. It raised its hand and a small holographic map appeared between them. The human's heart skipped a beat. The map showed a strange world, far from Earth. His own location was marked on it. And the creatures, they were not just studying him, they were planning. The human felt a shiver run down his spine. He realized the truth, they had revived him for a reason. Not just curiosity, not just observation, something bigger, something dangerous. He glanced at the glowing eyes of the nearest creature. Its gaze felt heavy, almost judging. The human swallowed hard. He knew he had to survive, to understand, to find a way out. But he had no idea how. And as he stood there, weak and trembling, one thought echoed in his mind louder than fear or confusion. I am not just a subject. I am a key. The human's heart raced. The aliens were still watching, but now the room felt smaller, as if their presence pressed down on him. Every sound, every light, every movement seemed carefully measured. He realized he was being tested, not just observed. He took a cautious step forward. His legs were weak, trembling from the long sleep in the cold. One of the creatures noticed immediately, moving closer. Its long fingers hovered over a panel on the floor. A soft hum filled the room, vibrating through the walls. The human froze. Then it happened. One of the aliens extended a hand, not in aggression but in a gesture of communication. The human stared. It was a simple motion, yet it carried weight. The alien's glowing eyes locked with his, as if saying, "We want you to understand." He took a shaky breath and raised his own hand, slowly mirroring the gesture. The alien's eyes glowed brighter for a moment, then it stepped back. Another alien activated a small floating device. A soft light formed between them, projecting symbols and images in the air. The human tried to focus. The symbols were strange, but he noticed patterns, lines connecting shapes, images of planets, stars, and beings that looked like both humans and aliens. He could not understand the language, but he understood the meaning. They were trying to communicate. He pointed at himself. The floating device responded, showing an image of a human figure. Then he pointed at the alien. The device changed, showing a taller, thinner figure with glowing eyes. His pulse quickened. For the first time he felt a connection. They were not enemies, at least not yet. Suddenly a new panel lit up. The human noticed a series of images flashing quickly. They were scenes of Earth, cities, forests, oceans, but mixed with flashes of strange machines, alien ships, and other humans, frozen like he had been. His stomach tightened. He was not the first. There had been others. One alien moved closer, its long fingers hovering over a holographic screen. It touched a symbol and the images stopped. A soft, musical sound filled the room, and for a brief moment, the human felt understood. They were showing him something important. Something about the world beyond Earth, about the beings who had captured him, and about his own role. He tried to speak. Do you want from me? His voice sounded weak, barely above a whisper. The alien tilted its head. A soft tone echoed in the air, musical and strange, but clear in meaning. To learn. To understand. To survive. The human's mind raced. Learn? Understand? Survive? He did not know if they meant him, themselves, or both. The room seemed to pulse with anticipation. The machines hummed faster, lights flickering in rhythm with the low musical tones. He realized they were not only observing, they were adapting, reacting to him. A sudden noise made him flinch. One of the tubes along the wall cracked slightly, releasing a faint mist. The human stepped back. The aliens did not seem alarmed. In fact, one moved closer, pointing at the mist. The human's stomach churned. The lab itself seemed alive, reacting to every action he took. He swallowed hard. He understood one thing clearly: every moment here was dangerous. Every step he took was being watched, every thought possibly read. Yet he also realized this was his chance. A chance to learn, to understand, and maybe to escape. He took a deep breath and tried something bold. Slowly he pointed to the door, or at least what he thought was the exit. The alien's eyes glowed brightly. The floating device activated again, projecting a path in glowing lines across the floor. It led him, not to the door but to another panel in the room. Curiosity mixed with fear. He stepped closer. The panel displayed more images, flashes of himself, of Earth, and strange symbols he could barely comprehend. He noticed something new, a symbol that resembled him, glowing brighter than the rest. His pulse quickened. They were showing him a choice? The aliens watched closely, their eyes locked on his. The human's mind raced. He did not fully understand what he was being shown, but he sensed a test. A test of his intelligence, his perception, maybe even his courage. And then it happened. The largest alien moved forward, placing its hand near his chest. A soft light connected them, pulsing gently. The human felt a strange warmth, not physical but mental. Images, thoughts, and emotions flowed through him, quick flashes, almost too fast to comprehend. He saw glimpses of alien life, of their world, of experiments and discoveries. And most shocking of all, he saw the future. Or at least, a possible future. Humans and aliens together. A universe far bigger than Earth. But also, danger. Or betrayal. Fear. Survival. The human stumbled back, overwhelmed. His heart raced, his mind spinning. The aliens remained calm, watching, waiting for his reaction. He realized then he had a choice. How he responded, how he acted, could change everything. And as he stood there, trembling but aware, one thought burned in his mind louder than fear or confusion. This is just the beginning. The human had barely caught his breath. His heart still pounded from the strange mental connection with the aliens. He now understood that they were not just observers, they were scientists, experimenters. And he was their subject. The largest alien stepped aside, motioning to a new area of the lab. The human followed cautiously. The room changed slightly. More machines, more tubes, and glowing containers that pulsed like hearts. He noticed some containers had strange shapes moving inside. His stomach churned. Whatever was in them, it was alive or had once been alive. The aliens gestured for him to step onto a glowing platform in the center of the room. He hesitated, fear gripping him. The creature's glowing eyes locked on him, patient yet insistent. There was no escaping. Every instinct told him to run, but the lab itself seemed alive, controlling his every move. He finally stepped forward, feeling a chill under his feet. A soft hum began, low and vibrating through the floor. Panels on the walls lit up, showing images of his body, muscles, bones, nerves. He realized with a shock, they were scanning him. Not just his physical body but something deeper. His mind, perhaps even his memories, were being studied. The aliens worked silently, pressing symbols on glowing panels. The human could only watch. Tubes extended from the machines, not touching him yet, but moving in readiness. Lights reflected off his skin, making him feel like he was inside a living machine. Then the experiments began. A soft, gentle pulse of energy passed over him. It was not painful, but it felt strange, almost like someone was touching his thoughts. Memories flashed before his eyes, images from Earth, from his life before cryo-sleep. He realized, the aliens were learning not just about his body but about his mind. Fear mixed with awe. He wanted to resist but he could not. His body was weak. His mind was open to their probes. He could feel the questions they were asking, even if he could not understand the language. What makes a human strong? What makes a human survive? What makes a human unique? One alien stepped closer, holding a device that projected a glowing orb. It hovered just above his chest. The human felt a pressure in his mind, like the orb was reading his thoughts. He struggled, trying to focus, to hide something, but the alien's presence was overwhelming. Every memory, every fear, every secret. He felt it was no longer private. Suddenly, one of the machines along the wall started moving differently. It extended a tube toward the human, but instead of harming him, it connected to the glowing orb. The human's pulse quickened. He realized that the experiment was not just observation, it was interaction. They were learning, yes, but they were also testing him. Testing his limits. The human tried to move, but the floor platform hummed and adjusted to keep him in place. He was trapped, yet the aliens showed no hostility. Their interest was scientific, analytical, almost respectful. It was terrifying. He realized they wanted to understand not just what a human could do physically, but what a human could do mentally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Hours, or maybe minutes, passed. Time lost meaning in the glowing lab. The human felt drained but also strangely alert. He noticed patterns in the experiments. Flashes of light responded to his thoughts. Movements of machines mirrored his emotions. He understood now. The aliens were learning how humans reacted under stress, fear, curiosity, and hope. He swallowed hard, realizing something terrifying. They had revived him not just to study him but to see what humans were capable of. And maybe, just maybe, they had underestimated him. A sudden sound broke the silence, a hiss from one of the containers. Something inside stirred, large and powerful. The human stepped back and the aliens paused their work. His mind raced. Whatever was in that container, it moved like it understood him, like it waited for a signal. One of the aliens tilted its head, then touched the orb on his chest. Images flashed rapidly. Humans in past ages, humans in war, humans surviving impossible situations. The human realized they were testing not just his physical strength, but his resilience, his adaptability, his mind, his courage. He clenched his fists, feeling a spark of determination. They may have revived him for their experiments, but he was not just a subject. Something inside him, something primal, stirred. He understood now. Survival was not just a test for him, it was a challenge. The largest alien stepped back, motioning for him to continue observing, while smaller devices adjusted around him. The human's breathing was heavy. His body was exhausted, but his mind was alert. Every nerve, every thought, every memory pulsed with a new energy. And as he stood on the glowing platform, surrounded by the pulsing machines, the containers and the silent, observing aliens, one thought burned in his mind. I may be their experiment, but I will not be their prisoner. The human's heart raced faster than ever. The experiments had pushed him to the edge, mentally and physically. His muscles were sore, his mind exhausted, but one thought burned clearly in his mind. He had to escape. He looked around the glowing lab. The walls were seamless, metallic, and smooth. Machines hummed quietly, pulsing with light. The aliens watched him from their distance, calm and silent, but he could feel their awareness. Every move, every breath, every heartbeat was known to them. He took a cautious step toward the far end of the room. One of the smaller machines suddenly shifted, sliding across the floor, and his pulse jumped. The human froze. The alien's eyes glowed brighter. They were alert. He realized this would not be easy. Every action he took was monitored, every possibility anticipated. He scanned the lab quickly. There was a small panel on the wall, slightly raised, with blinking symbols. Maybe it controlled something. Maybe it could open a path. He crept toward it, careful not to make a sound. The glowing platform beneath him hummed softly, as if warning him to stay. One of the creatures moved closer. Its long fingers extended toward the floor panel, and a soft hum vibrated through the room. The human stopped. The alien tilted its head, watching him carefully. Then he did something bold. He lunged toward the panel, pressing one of the glowing symbols with his trembling hand. Immediately, lights flickered, and the floor beneath him vibrated. The lab hummed louder, machines moving faster. A panel opened along the wall, revealing a narrow corridor bathed in soft, red light. His heart leapt. This could be his way out. The aliens reacted instantly. The largest one moved with speed he hadn't seen before, reaching toward him. The human felt a surge of adrenaline. He dashed into the corridor, the red light washing over him. Machines whirred and moved, trying to block him, but he kept running, dodging, weaving, his instincts sharper than ever. The corridor twisted, narrow and filled with strange alien devices. He heard a low hum behind him, one of the aliens following, silent, precise. The human's lungs burned, his legs ached, but he pushed on. Every turn, every step brought him closer to freedom, or so he hoped. He reached a junction. Two paths lay before him, both glowing faintly. He paused, trying to choose. His instincts screamed to go left, but something in his mind whispered right. He chose left. The corridor curved sharply, and he saw a glowing chamber ahead. The human's pulse raced. Could this be the exit? Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The aliens were not far behind. One of them extended its long fingers, and a wave of energy shot toward him. He ducked instinctively. Sparks flew from the walls as the energy hit a machine. The human realized this was no longer just an escape. It was a race. Life or death. He ran faster, his mind calculating each step. The chamber ahead had a central platform, and above it, a strange cylindrical device rotated slowly. His eyes widened. It looked like some kind of portal, or maybe a teleportation device. Could it take him out of this lab? Could he risk it? The alien closed in. Its glowing eyes focused on him, every movement deliberate. The human took a deep breath and leaped onto the platform. The device above whirred to life. Light filled the chamber, blinding him. Machines around him rattled and hummed, some sparks flying. He felt weightless, almost as if he were being lifted. Then everything went still. The human opened his eyes slowly. The lab, the machines, the aliens, they were gone. He was no longer in the glowing corridors, no longer trapped. But he was not on Earth either. The air was different, thin and crisp. Strange colors painted the sky. Mountains, jagged and alien, stretched in the distance. He stumbled, breathing heavily. His mind raced. He had escaped the lab, but he was somewhere completely unknown. And the realization hit him like a thunderclap. The aliens were still out there. They had learned about him, studied him, and now they knew he could survive, maybe even fight back. The human looked at the horizon. Somewhere out there, beyond the alien mountains, was a chance, maybe a way back home. But first, he had to survive this strange world, the unknown dangers, and the knowledge that the aliens would not forget him. As he took a cautious step forward, adrenaline still pumping through his veins, one thought burned in his mind louder than fear. I survived the lab, but this is only the beginning. The human stumbled over the rocky terrain of the alien world, every step sending small clouds of strange dust into the air. His muscles ached, and his mind was still spinning from the escape. The sky above glowed with strange colors, green, purple, and orange, casting shadows that moved in ways that seemed alive. Yet even in this alien beauty, fear gnawed at him. He had survived the lab, outsmarted the aliens and somehow escaped, but he still did not know why. Why had they revived him? Why had they tested him so thoroughly? Every memory of the experiments haunted him, the pulses of energy, the glowing platforms, the devices reading his mind. Then, in the distance he saw something that made him freeze. A faint light, far beyond the jagged mountains, flickered like a beacon. His instincts told him to approach, but carefully. The air felt charged, heavy with unseen energy. He crouched behind a boulder, observing. It was a structure unlike anything he had ever seen. Towering, metallic, with pulsing lights that seemed almost alive. And inside he could see movement. Shapes, aliens, moving in ways he recognized. His heart sank. They had found him. Or maybe, they had been waiting. He moved closer, careful to stay hidden. Then he saw it, a holographic display projecting images above the structure. Human figures, Earth cities, and countless stars. The display shifted, focusing on him, images from the lab, moments he had tried to hide from them, all flashing in sequence. Suddenly, a sound behind him made him spin around. One of the smaller aliens had emerged silently from the shadows. Its glowing eyes studied him. For the first time he felt calm. It did not attack. It merely pointed toward the structure, then raised its hand. The human hesitated, but then understanding dawned. They wanted him to see the truth. He followed cautiously, his curiosity stronger than his fear. The aliens inside the structure did not seem hostile. Instead, they moved with precision, almost ritualistic, performing tasks he could not understand. Then the largest alien approached him, its eyes glowing brighter, almost warm. It raised a hand and a soft, musical tone filled the air. Images appeared in his mind, not in his eyes, not on any screen. Memories, thoughts, and visions of the aliens' world poured into him. He saw their history, a civilization that had faced extinction, war, and famine. They were explorers, survivors, scientists, but not conquerors. And then he saw the reason they had revived him. The aliens were searching for something unique. Something Earth possessed. Humans. Not just for strength or speed or intelligence, but for resilience, for creativity, for unpredictability. Their experiments had shown that humans could adapt, survive, and overcome challenges in ways even the aliens could not predict. They needed that spark. The realization hit him like a lightning bolt. He had not been chosen at random. He had been selected, because of something deep inside him, something every human possessed. Something they could not create, copy, or control. Fear surged. He had been their experiment, their test subject. But awe followed. The aliens were not enemies in the traditional sense. They were seeking an ally, someone who could understand both worlds. Someone who could bridge the gap. But then a darker truth emerged. Not all aliens were like the ones he had met. Some saw humans only as tools, resources to be used. The lab, the experiments, even his escape, it had been a test, yes, but also a challenge. They wanted to know if he could survive, if he could think, if he could resist. Only then could they consider him useful. The human's mind raced. He understood now, he was both weapon and key. His survival mattered, but so did his choices. If he aligned with the wrong faction, Earth could be in danger. If he resisted, he could face death. Or worse, the lab had already planted seeds within him, knowledge, abilities, and secrets that could not be undone. He clenched his fists. The wind of the alien world whipped against his face, but his eyes burned with clarity. He was no longer just a subject, no longer just a human fleeing for survival. He was something more. A survivor. A fighter. A potential savior, or destroyer, of worlds. The largest alien extended its hand again, this time offering not control, but partnership. The human hesitated. Every instinct screamed to distrust, but another part of him recognized the opportunity. Knowledge, survival, and power. But at what cost? And then, just as he was about to decide, the holographic images shifted. Dark ships appeared, moving fast across space, targeting planets, Earth among them. The human's heart pounded. The aliens had not told him everything. The stakes were higher than he had imagined. He took a deep breath. One choice now could determine not just his fate but the fate of Earth itself. And as he stared at the alien offering his hand, one thought dominated all others. I have survived this far, now I must decide what I truly am. The wind of the alien world howled, machines hummed in the distance, and the human realized, the true test was only beginning. The human stood at the edge of the alien structure, his heart pounding like a drum. The wind of this strange world whipped against him, carrying scents and sounds unlike anything he had known on Earth. Every instinct told him to run, to hide, to escape, but he couldn't. Not now. Not when the stakes had become so high. The alien who had guided him, the largest one, stood silently, its glowing eyes focused on him. For the first time, the human saw something in those eyes, a mixture of respect, expectation, and warning. This was no longer about experiments, tests, or survival. This was about a choice. He looked out across the alien landscape. The jagged mountains stretched endlessly, glowing crystals scattered across the valleys. In the distance, dark ships moved through the sky, their shapes menacing. He recognized them instantly. They were heading toward Earth. His mind raced. Time was short. The aliens had offered knowledge, maybe even power, but the human now understood. The real battle was not against them but for his home. He clenched his fists, muscles trembling. The experiments, the escape, the visions, they had all led to this moment. He had learned much, grown stronger, and discovered truths that no human had ever known. And yet, the fear of the unknown pressed on him like a weight. He had no weapons, no reinforcements, and only the faint trust in creatures he barely understood. The largest alien extended its hand once more, slowly, deliberately. The human stared. He felt the pulse of energy emanating from it, a connection he could not fully explain. It was like a bridge linking their minds for a brief moment. He saw flashes, strategies, possibilities, warnings. The alien wanted him to choose, to take a path that could alter the fate of multiple worlds. Then a sudden noise shattered the tense silence. The dark ships above moved faster, descending toward the alien world. Lights flashed across the sky, sending shadows racing across the valleys. The human stomach twisted. The aliens had warned him, but he had not realized how imminent the threat was. The smaller aliens scrambled, activating devices and panels. The hum of machines grew deafening. Energy surged through the air, making the ground vibrate beneath the human's feet. The wind howled louder, carrying a metallic taste, and he realized the alien world itself was reacting to the threat. The stakes had escalated beyond anything he had imagined. He took a deep breath, trying to steady his mind. Every lesson from the lab, every moment of observation, every test had prepared him for this, but only just. He glanced at the largest alien, whose glowing eyes seemed to ask, "Will you stand or will you flee?" The human knew there was no fleeing. Not anymore. He had a choice: trust the alien, risk the unknown and face the approaching danger, or run blindly and risk losing Earth entirely. His pulse quickened. The ships above moved faster, firing beams that struck the alien world. Rocks exploded, energy flared, and shadows danced wildly across the valleys. Instinct kicked in. The human felt something stir deep inside him: strength, clarity, and a spark he did not know he possessed. His eyes narrowed. He clenched his fists, feeling the energy of the alien connection flowing faintly through him. He was ready to act, but he knew this was only the